What is going on, guys? Again, 2 minutes early, so I'm gonna wait for some people to tune in. I'm also gonna pull up my double screen here so I can catch any comments that come in from you guys as well. How do I do this? Still figuring out the tech side of this, guys. But music in the background should be going off. They just finished up a killer 9 a.m. class. And before I get started, I'm going to go over a couple highlights from members of my gym and some of the accomplishments and stuff that's happening inside Gage. When you guys do tune in, please drop a comment, drop a like. I want to do some, staff highlights as much as I can today. Or sorry, member highlights. You can see behind me, some of my client photos are falling off the wall. I think with the temperature change, the adhesive comes apart. So I have to figure that out. I just noticed that you guys can see that. Tried angling the video lower, but is what it is. So again, if you guys are tuned in, please drop a like, drop a comment. Any questions that pop up, just let me know so I can answer them live for you guys. So it's not just me talking at the screen. Still got 1 minute left. Ooh, shit. Still got 1 minute left before the official start time. And I'll tell you guys some exciting stuff that's coming up this summer. So right now we have a youth athlete speed camp starting at 10 years old. 10 years old is when we typically start working with athletes in our facility. We do multiple summer 2-week speed camps that are hugely beneficial for these kids. Last year we had a great turnout. The kids saw really good results. Something that's cool and unique about this camp is that we are tracking everything that we do. So we're tracking the 40-yard dash times, the 10-yard acceleration drills, the agility work that we do. So we're giving you guys real-time feedback into the progress that these kids are making. So in only 2 weeks, our guarantee is a faster athlete. And it's just a really cool thing to be able to offer the kids. Another thing is if you provide their coaches information, we will send those feedback and those scores to their coaches. So especially as kids get older, it's very valuable for those coaches to see the extra work that these kids are doing. But let's dive in to today's weekly lesson with Chat with Devin. First things first, again, anybody that tunes in, make sure you drop a comment, a highlight. Anybody that has a weekly win, just drop it in the comments. We'll highlight you guys. So I want to tell a story. So probably about 3 years ago, I was driving a Chevy Silverado, which is a car that I had for a long time. Never gave me many issues. I was driving up for a snowboard trip up to Massachusetts. And when I got to Massachusetts, where I was meeting with a couple friends, I was probably in Connecticut. The oil pressure sensor just plummeted. So either I lost oil pressure or I had an oil leak or a sensor issue was happening in my truck. So kind of freaked me out because I have no idea what I'm doing with cars. I'm not an auto guy. So I pull over, I call my buddy who's right next door to Tony D'Antonio, who's a great mechanic, and I asked him what was going on. He's like, listen, it's most likely just a sensor, because it's saying my oil was like all jacked up, which doesn't typically happen. He's like, just get it to a mechanic, they'll take a look at it. So luckily I was an hour away. I turned the car off, turned it back on, the sensor kind of fixed itself. So every, 10 minutes it would do this weird thing. So anyway, I get it to the mechanic in Melrose, Massachusetts, right next door to my buddy's barbershop, who I was meeting with anyway. So I dropped it off. It was a Friday afternoon. I'm going on the ski trip up to Maine, and sorry, I'm having some issues. I don't know what's happening here. Do you guys still see me? All right, so I guess we're still good. So anyway, I take my car up to Melrose, Massachusetts, drop it off at a mechanic, and they're basically like, listen, we got to pull the engine out. There's some wiring issues. We're going to get this thing fixed up for you. So I'm like, all right. I rode with my friends up to Maine, went snowboarding for the weekend, and came back, picked my car up on a Sunday, and it was great. So the sensor was fixed. They told me it was good to go. It was a little bit bigger of a project. They had to pull the engine out and do all this other stuff. So they said it was all good. Driving home, as you guys know, from Massachusetts, you go through typically Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, into Pennsylvania. So right when I hit New York, same thing happened, right? The sensor plummeted, the oil, it was dinging, beeping, all this stuff started lighting up. Called my buddy Tony and I was pissed, right? They told me they fixed it. I was excited that they fixed it. I was happy that they fixed my car. And I came home and I took it to Tony and he kind of fixed it and, repaired the real issue for me. But what I realized was just because he fixed it for the time being for a couple hours doesn't mean it was fixed. All right. And I've realized that we really take a much different mindset with dieting and with our health than we do with pretty much anything else in our lives. So with my car, I was really pissed that I spent all that money and they didn't fix my car. Even though they said they fixed it, even though they temporarily fixed the issue, I was really pissed because it didn't work. Whatever they did not work to fix the root issue of my car. So why do we take a different mindset or a different set of standards with our diet and with our health and with our results than we do with anything else in our lives? And I'll give you the example of, I sit down in here with people all the time and we talk about things they've done for their nutrition plans, the results they want in the past. And more often than not, somebody will say, oh, well, I did keto before and that's the only thing that worked. Or I did Weight Watchers once and that really worked well. Yet they're sitting here less than, a couple of years later, and they lost all the results that they got on that plan. They gained the weight back. They backslid into where they were before that diet plan worked for them. And the question is, why are we looking at or giving so much respect to something that didn't work long term, right? The same way that I don't think that mechanic really fixed my car, same way that keto diet, Weight Watchers, that supplement plan didn't work if you still don't have the benefit of that, okay? For something to work, we should reevaluate the way that we give them credit or give that plan credit. Myself included. We've got tons of members here that do really well and they don't stick with it or they lose motivation, and that's on us. And that means that we didn't work for them. Okay, so I'm not putting myself on a higher pedestal. This is just a way for you to reframe the way that you give credit to things that you've done in the past. If you're not still seeing the result, if it wasn't truly changing your health for the long term, chances are it didn't work. And we should stop kind of giving it credit. And a lot of these, and this is a little bit of an aside, but a lot of these diet programs and supplements and all of that, they do a really good job of convincing you that it's your fault if you don't stick to it, or it's your fault if you gain the weight back, when really it's their fault for not providing a sustainable plan that is a true lifestyle transformation, okay? They're selling you something for a lot of money that's not doing anything good for you long term. In fact, it's probably causing a little bit of damage long term if you continue that yo-yo approach to your diet. So it confuses me why we have a different set of standards for our own health than we do for something like my car being fixed. Another example here is the treatment of cancer. So I think this is factual. Somebody may fact check me on this, but I'm fairly certain that they don't claim that a treatment for cancer worked unless you have been in remission for 5 years. So think about that. So you have to be cancer-free for 5 years in order for the medical community to say that that treatment was effective. Again, why do we give yourself a different set of standards for your health and fitness and the way of eating that you follow than we do for anything else? Because again, when we do keto for 3 weeks and we lose 10 pounds, but then we gain it all back because we can't stick to it, we still think that that plan worked. But did it really? Because you gained it all back and you're right back to where you started. So in my eyes, that plan didn't work if you're right back to where you started. Okay? Now, I would challenge you to reevaluate these set of standards that you hold your health to, at least to the same set of standards that you would with the mechanic down the road that's fixing your car. All right? So I had this realization recently, and it was actually a really big, in the comments I said, it hit me like a sledgehammer, because it was very eye-opening. So for the last couple years, probably the last 2 years, I have consistently followed an intermittent fasting routine where I pretty much skip breakfast. I just drink black coffee. I typically don't eat anything until like 10, 11 noon, where I have lunch and then I have like a protein shake later and then dinner. Now, I'm not one of those guys that's like an intermittent fasting, guy, right? It has worked with my routine. I like it. I enjoy it. It just seems to fit into my lifestyle. And whenever people ask me about intermittent fasting, that's exactly what I say. If it fits into your lifestyle and you can stick to it, by all means, it's perfectly fine. But I had to reevaluate the credit I was giving myself, because for a long time I was saying that's what works for me. But in reality, my current state of health and my fitness is probably the worst it's been in my life, right? And that's not just the diet, it's more, stress and work and, trying to run a small business through a pandemic. But I was kind of giving intermittent fasting a lot of credit for working for me. When you look at it on paper, when you look at the facts, my health is my fitness, my body fat composition, my overall health is one of the worst it's been in my entire life. It was way better when I followed a different way of eating. So I really had to reevaluate the standard or the credit I was giving to this way of eating and kind of say what, maybe it's not working. Maybe it's just convenient and I like it, so I want to give it credit. And I think that's the trap that we fall into, is when something feels good, we give it a lot of credit, even if it doesn't really look good on paper or the results aren't showing up the way that they should. So that's a really strong personal reason that I had to reevaluate my own mindset. Was intermittent fasting is probably not working for me. And anybody who's watching this is probably gonna, if they're an intermittent fasting person, tell me I'm doing it wrong or whatever. But the fact is, I'm following an intermittent fasting plan and my body fat composition has not improved whatsoever. So I'm gonna stop giving it the same credit that I have been giving it and own up to the fact that I'm following a plan that is really easy for me to follow, even though it's probably not the best thing for my health. And I would challenge you guys to do the exact same thing, is to reevaluate the credit that you're giving the Weight Watchers plan that you followed 2 years ago that didn't work for you, the keto diet that you gained all the weight back, or the supplement routine that once you stopped, you gained the weight back or you started feeling bad again, because that didn't work for you. And we should hold our health to the same standard as we hold the mechanic that didn't fix my car, or the treatment of cancer that they don't give credit to unless you're in remission for 5 years. So that's kind of my lesson today, guys, is don't hold yourself and your own health and your own fitness to a higher standard than the mechanic that fixes cars or the treatment of cancer that they don't give credit to for 5 years. If anybody has comments, questions, or something that this helped them with, please go ahead and post it in the comments or send me a message personally. And I want to go into one more thing that ties into this, which is we tend to conflate effort with effect. And this is a mistake that I made, and it just shows the flaws in the human mind and our psychology, is we tend to tie an effect to the amount of effort that we put into it. So again, intermittent fasting was very effortless and easy for me to do, so I attached a big effect to it, when in reality that effect was not real. The effect that I attached to it was health, body fat composition, energy, overall health, whatever. It really wasn't there. But the fact that I was so easily following that I was wrong about that. And that's just a flaw of the human mind that is very evident. So I think I just connected my Bluetooth. Something is and the effect that it produces. Another example of this on the other side is something like, we tend to conflate, which is like inflate and confuse, the effect of things like cardio based on the amount of effort that it takes. So a lot of people ask me, is cardio, do I need to do more cardio, or should I be doing more cardio? And they inflate the effect of a cardio routine because of how hard it is to do, and they leave super sweaty and sore, and it's very effortful. But the effect in reality just isn't there. Did I mess it up? My AirPods are in my pocket and they must have popped out. Let me try this. Can you hear me now? I don't know if you can hear me. Anyway, I'm going to try this. If not, we'll just end the video because I did cover what I wanted to cover. So we tend to conflate effort with effect. The effort that it takes to do cardio. So all right, we're good now. So I'm going to start over. Sorry for anybody watching live. So we tend to conflate effort with effect, and it works both ways. So we tend to assign more effect and effectiveness to something that has high effort, even if the effect doesn't really pan out in reality. So for example, we get asked all the time here at the gym, people saying, should I do more cardio? Or I feel like I need more cardio, or why aren't I getting my cardio? We don't do traditional cardio like running on a treadmill or biking or whatever here at Gage. That's another topic. But the reason they feel that way is because cardio is very difficult, and there's a high effort with something like cardio. So they assign a big effect to that effort. But in reality, cardio is actually a really ineffective way to lose body fat and improve your overall body composition. But we falsely equate effectiveness to the effort that it takes to do it. And it's just something that we have to really evaluate, not confusing effort with effect. Now, another way that we do this is with things like recovery. Okay, recovery and sleeping well and making sure we're eating enough calories and things like meditating are some of the most effective ways to improve our health. But they don't feel very effortful, so we don't assign the same effect to them. So it's very easy to overlook the effect and not take seriously the effect of sleep and meditation and rest because it takes no effort. And we tend to assign more effect to things like multiple workouts in a day or never taking a day off because our minds conflate the effort with effect, even though the effect doesn't show up. So what happens is people tend to overwork themselves, under-recover themselves, starve themselves of calories because all of that effort they think is going to lead to a big effect. And eventually they burn themselves out, they injure themselves, and weeks later, after grinding through those hard days of work, they realize that the scale hasn't changed, their waistline hasn't shrunk, they haven't lost body fat, and they feel horrible. So they end up throwing their hands in the air and they say, I'm a loser, I can't do it, I'm just a lost cause. Okay. This is just a flaw of the mind because we confuse effort with effect. So I would challenge you, just like I would challenge you to reevaluate your views on intermittent fasting and other, approaches to dieting and assigning effect. Really look at the reality. Okay. What is actually working? What are the facts versus the feelings? Okay. We tend to go off of feelings when we should really be looking at facts. So that's my main lesson today, guys. I would challenge you guys to really take a hard look at the reality of what has happened in your body with previous eating plans and what is really effective versus what you just feel was good because it worked short term or whatever. And I would really encourage you guys to evaluate your thoughts on the effort versus effect conundrum, this flaw in our psychology, which it really is a psychological bias, that we tend to assign more effectiveness to something with high effort, even if that effectiveness isn't real. It doesn't show up in the long run. Okay. And take some time to really think about what is actually going to be effective for your health and fitness and results, even if it's not effortful. And my big go-tos are sleeping 8 hours, meditation if you're stressed, getting enough calories, not trying to starve yourself and shed body fat really fast, eating proper amounts of food. Okay. These are something that you kind of don't see the effect in because it feels effortless. Okay. How could something so effortless produce an effect? It's got to be a grind. It's got to be hard if it's going to produce an effect. It's not the way the world works. That's not reality. All right. So that is what I got for you guys today. A little bit more than last week. Last thing, again, guys, if you guys want an effective and realistic approach to nutrition and lifestyle changes, reach out, chat with me. I'm happy to talk anytime that you guys want. And yes, Lauren, it only works when it's a lifestyle change. And again, stop assigning props and like what worked to something that did not lead to a long-term lifestyle change. And that's coming from Lauren Slattery, who's been a member of Gage Strength Training for 8 years. She is a lifer at Gage, so she has completely changed her lifestyle in more ways than one. So I appreciate you, Lauren, and I'll see you guys next week.